Hey guys, Jess here from the Parrot Project. My office is getting used up by said Project Parrot Lucas, so I'm just on the side here in my room, just putting something together for you. I'll show you the first day with Lucas in terms of starting training, but I'll show the first day coming into my house. Now, it was a little bit late in the day when I first got him into the house, so it's been a bit slower than I was expecting and wanting. I wasn't fully prepped, I don't think. So a lot of lessons learnt from that. He's quite flighty in nature, so it's been a little bit of work to even just start that training process. I'll go through some of the techniques I used in the training, and yeah, I might I've potentially adopted a cockatiel for my own flock. She's been really great. She's super receptive to training. I've gotten her start to do target training, things like that. I will be doing specific videos about these types of trainings just to really nut out what exactly they are and what's the science behind them. But I'm just going to show you a video of the first day with Lucas, and hopefully we get some traction with this, and ultimately the aim is to have him adopted out. So I'm planning on putting together some work, and anyone who decides to adopt him, I will offer my services free of charge, just to ensure the things that I've trained continues on with him into whichever home he becomes, whatever home he does go into. So enjoy. Once again, comments, queries, all those sorts of things as usual. Subscribe, like, all those sort of fun things. That would be great. Thanks guys, and enjoy the video with Lucas. I'll do some voiceovers as well. How you going? So as you can see here guys, Lucas is quite flighty. The enclosure was actually clipped together by zip ties, so I didn't have much choice. I needed to take those off, and I tried to do it as quick and seamlessly as possible without scaring him too much, but ultimately it's sadly something that needed to be done, and there's been a few of those little instances with him where something needed to be done around him, and I've tried my best to make it as seamless as possible, but ultimately I've had a bird who's just a little bit scared. So yeah, so that's hence why we're going as close as we are at the moment. It's about now where I start realising that I'm not going to be able to approach his enclosure on any level without him being quite scared, so he's not willing to take any food out of my hand here. So I've just done obviously a quick assessment and realised that I'm going to have to take a couple of steps back in initial training just to gain some trust there, and also ensure that he realises that I understand his boundaries as well. So I do attempt to try and give him a treat a couple of times just to really assess, and he's just too scared. So you'll see towards the end I've just kind of stopped and just sort of assessed his behaviour overall. Be a little bit dangerous for them. I have a big window right here, which if you got out and flew around you could go straight into. He's fully flighted. Trying to respect his boundaries. You're okay. You've got a big voice. I get it. Big voice. So a little mistake I made here, it was somewhat rewarding him for his flock calling, which was he flock called and I moved away. So, and that those sorts of behaviours can reinforce that flock call, that particular flock call where he's yelling out of fear and discomfort. So me walking away may have reinforced that, but obviously that's in hindsight now, not knowing how what he's like in terms of training overall. So another lesson learned there, but yeah, I think that was a bit of an error on my part. So that's some of the chop. The rescue that he came from uses pass bowls, so I've got some pass bowls in there. I picked some up on the way home as well. Because he's still under the guardianship of, they've requested that he stays on pass bowls, so we'll be feeding Lucas pass bowls and just some clean water. Now, let's how are we supposed to do this without you being scared? Okay? Huh? Trying to work out how to make you not scared. I'm trying to tell them what's going on, huh? So I've got to still set up another enclosure so that he'll be staying in this for the moment. I'll be setting up an enclosure just over there so he'll see it being made up and things like that. I might put it here. I haven't decided yet. We'll figure that out. That's fine. But he will be within his areas, got some natural sunlight, so he's away from my other birds as well. My other birds are like all the way over there. Just as a note, I'd made a decision afterwards actually to have him in my office. It was safer. I was able to provide him sort of a better overall comfort and ability to train in that room versus where he is right now. So I did make a decision later on to change that. Bit of a positive I got out of this was that he responded quite well towards the walnut, even though he didn't take it out of my hand. I could tell he was incredibly interested in it, so that tells me down the track once I get to the point of being able to give him some food by hand or other means that I'll be able to provide him some walnuts, so that could potentially be a really high value treat for him shortly. So I took this opportunity to cut off the ties of the enclosure, only for the fact he was already really stressed out, and I just wanted to make the opportunity of doing something else that was going to be stressful all in one. So I kind of think of it as cluster care or cluster stress. just so that I didn't have to do it later on when he may have relaxed a little bit more. Even though this was incredibly stressful for him, but I did need to put water in his enclosure, I did actually been able to hear his, I guess, end stage cry out. So I know I've really pushed his limits there. And you can hear my eclectus responding to that same sound. So my eclectus was calling back just to make sure he was okay. But yeah, so that's one benefit out of a really stressful situation for him, is that I now know when we've really pushed him beyond his limits with that sound. So the last part of this video is really just showing you me attempting to try and give him a walnut and really assessing his behaviours overall. Ultimately, it is a case of him still being very flighty. He's got no interest at all in me or in a treat. And yes, I concluded this pretty shortly after this. Hey, buddy. I'll come back later. So it's been a long day for him. So he's already eaten. So by the time I picked him up, it was around about 11:30, 12. He already had his chop and his food and things like that. So I think I'll let him settle in for the day. I think it's been a big day. I'm quite happy with where we're at. And I might try again in a few hours' time, but sunset in a couple of hours, so we'll see how we go. Thanks for watching, guys, for the day one of Lucas. I will probably put together the day two with Lucas, which shows you what I have been trying to do with him to get closer to him, to start. I'm hoping, obviously, the first starting steps to target training, but I really just want him to get comfortable and calm around me, so that's going to be a bit of a battle in itself. But once I get there, we should hopefully be free rolling from there. So I'll hopefully have that together shortly enough for you guys in the next couple of days, and you can see where he's at. And it'll probably be the same type of training I'm going to be doing for the next couple of days, so there might not be much progress. Well, there'll probably be little bits of progress, but not a huge amount to video. So I'll probably have a few days away from not videoing him, and we'll go from there. So thank you again, guys. Muchly appreciate for watching. Any comments, queries, suggestions, all those sorts of things. I'm open to constructive criticism, all those sorts of things. This is my first parrot that I've bought in as a project parrot. This is probably the most flighty bird that I've dealt with, so I might have made a few mistakes along the way, but ultimately he's in a safe home right now. He's getting fed, and I'm just really trying to train him to get to the point where we can get him out for adoption. All right, guys, thanks again, and I'll speak to you soon.